It's prayer or silence, whichever is your choice. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 5th meeting?
So move.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve appropriations ordinance number 15?
I move we approve ordinance number 15.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Declare the public input session open for any items not on the agenda. Do you see anything online? Okay, ask the bench, if they have anything.
No, thank you.
Okay, I'll pull up the two standard things. First of all, the Harvard piece, and you will see we are down here to pretty low figures on this. The piece that we have been, I believe, a little more. We've been 12 days in the yellow. The last couple days, are averaging just over one case in a 7-day moving average and 4 cases per 100,000. And this has a 2-day lag from the actual date to day. If you want to pull up the health department. See, the last report was that we had 15 cases. And over at the upper left, we have received 10,568 vaccine doses. 3,380 have been given by the health department. The rest, 7,188 have been put out to providers. We have one person in the hospital. Since Dr. Gorman's here, I'll ask her if she would like to say anything on these numbers.
No, I'm very impressed with these numbers. It's fantastic. Our activity flow and our activity in the hospital is very meaningful.
Okay, all right. So if click on daily change in the middle of the screen, blue bar. And you can see we had a slight rise from the previous one. We did have only 13 cases. Now we went up to 15, but we are doing very well. And all the counties around us are doing very well. So we're in a part of the country, in the state that is doing very well. And a big portion of western Kansas is in the green. And I hope that that means that they're truly in the green. They just haven't had a report, but it's sometimes hard to tell. But overall, Kansas seems to be doing really well right now. So with that, unless there are any questions, I'll go ahead and declare the public input session closed. Now okay, the first thing that we have to do is approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
To call on Tim Meyer for the BPU report.
Morning, Mayor. Commissioner.
One, Tim.
Morning.
Just give you an update on some of our projects, on the water line work that we're doing on Main Street. They did fill the main in the 200 block of North Main last week. Actually did a bacteria sample with pressure testing it this morning. We should start transferring services. There are 10 services on that block, so that's going to take us a little while, but I would expect us to be done with that block by the end of next week, and hopefully if things go well a little bit sooner than that. The plan is, we did reach out to the Old Schools Day Committee. They feel comfortable if we go ahead and move over to the west side, and then we'll go to the north end, and we'll start there and work our way south. We do have a 10-inch line that we have to tie into there on Euclid. That'll take us probably an additional week possibly. So that block won't go as fast as this one has. It'll probably be similar to the 300 block on the other side. But, things are progressing. We're almost done. And I think everybody's probably will be glad when we're done. So things I think are moving along nicely
Good.
there. On the Mohawk substation, we have had our north loop line. So we have a 115 kV transmission system all the way around McPherson. And for about the last 2 weeks, we've had the north loop line out of service. That's actually what ties the Manville substation to one of our ties with Evergy. And so we've been running radial kind of on the east side of town. And that line is still out. They got the transmission line moved, got all our new poles set, got the conductor transferred. Now we're actually going to string, it's called OPGW, which is optical ground wire. So up in the static, they actually put fibers in there. I think we're going to have 48 fibers. And that will tie really plant 3 all the way across town along the north side, all the way over to the west sub. We already have fiber from there out to plant 2. So it gives us a backup communication path to plant 3 because that sub is, or that generator is remotely controlled. But that's going to take probably about a month to do that. So but really things are progressing nicely. All of our equipment is in. And actually 2 of the transformers showed up. They finally made it here. We purchased 4 of them. They came from Italy. Siemens is the company. But anyway, they showed up, had a little bit of difficulty getting out of the port. The payment got hijacked. And then the weight wasn't quite right. So they had to get another trailer. But all 4 of them were on that ship. So we should be receiving them this week. And Siemens is in town and they're ready to assemble them. So they brought all their equipment. The radiators are here. So and our guys are putting up steel. Once we get all the steel up, then we can start putting up bus or insulator switches and then bus. But it'll look like a lot of activity, kind of to date, everything's buried in the ground. If it's not in the building, it's below grade. So now a person will actually start to see a lot of work go on. And, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be close to getting it commercial. But things I think are progressing nicely. And then on our street light conversion that we're doing up on Ranch Road in Dover, all the lights are in. I think one of the poles, they haven't put the light on it yet, the fixture on it. They'll do that today. And then we need to remove the old poles. So the plan is just to continue with that program, and we'll probably move west from there. And again, this is replacing poles. We don't have a bond wire with it. So from a safety perspective, we want to upgrade that system, feel that we should. And so we'll continue to move on over and move west. We kind of use it as fill-in work, to be honest, when it's raining. It's a place that we can always get to and we can always work on. The underground crew's been doing some of the overhead to underground conversions. That's typically in people's backyards, and you can't really get in there when it's wet. So, but I think we've made good progress, and it's going to, on the streetlight program, it's going to take us a few more years, but we'll eventually get there and we'll get all those replaced. So I don't know if you gentlemen have any questions
Any
about
questions?
anything.
I don't have any.
No, we
Okay.
appreciate you keep making progress.
Okay.
Good
Yeah,
report.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call on Ryan Rank, building inspection report.
Morning.
Morning.
All right, so I have your monthly building inspection report. This will be for March of 2021. Residential units, which are new construction, are up 500% for the year as compared to 2020 at this time. Residential additions and remodels are down 39%. Residential other, which is your general maintenance, water heaters, roofing permits, are down 18%. Commercial new are down 86%. Commercial remodels and additions are down 25%. And the total of all permits are down 23%. We're well down on the cost of construction for this year. There just hasn't been any large commercial projects like there has in the past, so there may be some stuff down the road here. We have issued 75 permits so far this year. This is compared to 97 this time last year. 74 inspections have been conducted this year, compared to 83 this time last year. Just some project updates real quick. Piping Technology, their new office building, they have all the structural steel up, and they've been putting the interior steel studs and stuff like that. So they're moving along pretty good there. The Dollar Tree, the actual structure itself is done. Once that, the way I understand it is once that's done, it's turned over to the Dollar Tree's own people, and they come in and they do all the finishings, painting, setting shelves, and that's got a 2-week time. So they said they're shooting for end of April to be open. So we'll see what happens there. And then Johns Manville, really at this point, it's just structural steel on the outside. There's not a ton of it, but it is going up slowly but surely. They have, like I said, they have all their concrete and underground work done. So with that, that's all I've got, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Ryan?
Thank you.
Nope. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay,
As it relates to Dollar Tree, I'm assuming they have the ECID.
Yeah.
So do we notify them of that, or should the state, or does anybody know?
I have no idea how that works.
I will,
assume the state does, the state notifies it.
yeah, but I don't know how the state knows if they.
Well, we have to apply for a tax license or so on. Sure.
I'll do that. I'll contact the Department of Revenue and.
they should be in touch with each other, but it doesn't hurt to check.
Yeah, I will contact, I'll contact them.
Okay.
You think the 8th of April?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do planning and zoning with Virgil Lines.
So the revised city subdivision regulations are complete. Regulations were considered by the city of McPherson at a regularly scheduled planning commission meeting on April 6th. The planning commission found that proper notice was given, that the changes are desirable, and that the adopted the regulations by majority vote of the entire composition of the planning commission membership with a quorum of 8 present. The vote was 8-0. The regulations are adopted with a date of April 6, 2021, with a recommendation by the planning commission that the city commission approved by incorporation into an effectuating ordinance for publication, the zoning regulations. In accordance with this regulation or this recommendation, we've got ordinance number 3353 drafted and presented for your consideration.
Okay. I move to adopt ordinance number 3353, an ordinance enacted approving and incorporating by reference certain subdivision regulations governing the subdivision of land location within the city of McPherson, Kansas, and certain extraterritorial jurisdiction as defined therein, as prepared and published as a model code in book form by the McPherson City Planning Commission, pursuant to KSA 12-741 ET SEQ as amended 2.3009 to 12.3012 inclusive, 12.3301 and 12.3302, and authorize the mayor to sign the ordinance.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We know he's good at reading numbers, not so
There you
much
go.
names.
I'm,
Well,
Yeah,
as long as we get them all.
he did a great job.
I just, I'd like to congratulate you and the planning commission. You guys did a lot of work on that. Virgil probably did more work on it than probably anybody, but working with Bickley Foster and so on to get this thing finalized. And I didn't read through it word for word, but I did read through all the changes and stuff like that. You guys did a good job.
Yeah,
Appreciate your help.
we compared the original to the past. I'll have to show you the difference between those two books sometime.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Virgil. Okay, call on Public Lands and Facilities, Wayne Burns.
Morning.
Morning, Wayne.
First item I have is with Lakeside Park Disc Golf Course signage. Staff is requesting approval to purchase 18 large deluxe tee box signs with frames and one course kiosk sign with frame from Dynamic Disc of Emporia for an amount not to exceed $2,380. This is paid for by a grant directly from McPherson County Community Foundation.
I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of 18 large deluxe T-box signs with frames and one course kiosk sign with frame from Dynamic Discs of Emporia for an amount not to exceed $2,380, paid for directly and in full by the McPherson Community Foundation.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item is seasonal positions for Turkey Creek Golf Course and the Park Department. Public Lands and Facilities Department is in the process of trying to hire seasonal positions for this year. Staff would like to recommend the two following candidates: Caitlin Guffey for the Park Department and Caleb Richardson for the Turkey Creek Golf Course Clubhouse. All candidates meet qualifications and possess the skill set needed for seasonal positions.
I'll make the motion to approve making a conditional job offer to, is that Selby or Selby Richardson, seasonal Turkey Creek Golf Clubhouse employee, pending successful background check and additional testing, effective April 19th, 2021.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And I'll make
Wait a minute.
No,
We're not through yet.
I'll make the motion to approve making a conditional job offer to Caitlin Guffey as seasonal Park Department employee, pending successful background check and additional testing, effective April 19th, 2021.
I second it.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank
All
you.
right. Public Works.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
The first item I have for your consideration is a disposal list. As discussed 2 weeks ago in study session, Public Works proposes listing the following items on Purple Wave auction and discarding anything that doesn't sell. All other departments were contacted to see if they had additional items to list. We received items from the Park Department, which are included in the list below.
Okay, I move that we approve the sale of street and park department inventory items on Purple Wave as listed that are no longer useful and out of service, and dispose of any items not sold.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Where are those going to be displayed, or how's that work?
We have pictures of them. They'll be displayed online.
Okay.
With whichever auction they think will fit
All right.
good with it, so. The next item, the street sweeper was scheduled to be replaced last year, but we pushed off until 2021. 3 quotes were received. The lowest quote was from TSC, which is Truck Component Services, Stafford, Missouri, in the amount of $211,742 for a 2021 DeLevo 6000 street sweeper. Contributions to the equipment fund for the replacement of the street sweeper are currently at $235,300. And the street department equipment fund balance is $455,106.67. To the motion, I need to add authorization for the mayor to sign the sales contract.
Okay. Move to approve the purchase of a 2021 DeLevo 6000 street sweeper from TCS Truck Component Service, Stafford, Missouri, for a cost not to exceed $211,742, and have the mayor sign the contract.
I'll second.
Is there anything on the sale of the current one?
Yes, it's next item.
That's coming up.
Oh, okay, yeah, read the next line. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next item is the sale of the 2014 DeLavo street sweeper to Sterling, Kansas. The city of McPherson has received an offer from the city of Sterling to purchase 2014 5,000 Evolution EU Ford DeLavo street sweeper for $40,000. When purchased, the city of McPherson received a 5-year guaranteed buyback from TSC in the amount of $40,000, which the city of McPherson chose not to exercise last year. The $40,000 is a fair and equitable offer, and the city of McPherson was able to utilize the street super 1 additional year past the TSC offer. Attached, please find the bill of sale drafted by the city attorney. I did receive an email over the weekend that their commission did approve the sale, but we don't have the signed bill of sale yet, but we will be receiving that.
I move to approve the sale of the 2014 DeLavo 5,000 street sweeper to the city of Sterling, Kansas for a total sum of $40,000 and authorize the mayor to sign the bill of sale.
And
Second.
the city clerk.
All those in favor say aye.
The motion to.
And the city clerk as well. I'm sorry. Right.
The next item out of the wastewater treatment facility is a sewer main replacement, sanitary sewer district 1D, Avenue A to Skanky, with Earl's Engineering for the design. During the review of the site plan for the Oak Harbor cottages, the wastewater superintendent brought up concerns about the condition, size, integrity of the 6-inch sewer main between Avenue A and Skanky. The existing line was installed in 1906 and is sanitary sewer district number 1. This is the only 6-inch. This line is only 6 inches. Today we install nothing less than 8. It has sags in it, constructed of clay tile. Earl's Engineering has submitted a quote in the amount of $13,000 to complete the design. And I misspoke in study session. It did not involve the surveying. So from 11.8, I think it was, to 13,000.
Right. I move to hire Earl's Engineering Inspection Incorporated to design the sewer main replacement for SSD 001-D from Avenue A to Skanky Street in the alley between Oak and Elm for a cost not to exceed $13,000 and authorize the mayor to sign that contract.
And I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is masks ordinance. It's not really a mask ordinance. It's been a choice ordinance. You either wear a mask or you social distance. If you can't social distance, the city ordinance was required to wear a mask. As we know that the governor wanted to issue executive order to maintain the state mask order, and the legislative council vetoed the idea of the executive order. So now that means that our ordinance for choice is in place. So from the standpoint of our data, I'd want to entertain a repeal, but before that, I would like to call on Dr. Gorman, and I'm sure she has an opinion.
We all have Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
So yeah, I was really pleased to review with you the data that you just saw. It's great. Our numbers are low. We have 1 person in the hospital. Why are we even talking about this? The reason that I came today is because looking on the worldwide scene, as I'm sure you are as well, we, although we know we're doing well locally, we've also seen in the news a number of things that give us cause to be cautious worldwide. We've got a number of variants of these viruses that are present worldwide, and we're starting to see them in Kansas as well. The one that we've known about the longest is the B.1.1.7, which is the UK variant. It has become the main virus active in Europe, and it's caused a lot of problems. A number of nations there have gone into shutdown and it's really impacted their economies as they are going through a 4th wave. Now, is that going to impact us? I don't know. What I do know is that it has been in 51 US states and territories now, that same variant, including Kansas. And it's fortunately at this point, a very small percentage of the variants of the varieties of virus that we're seeing is like 0.5%. However, looking at surrounding states, it's a whole lot higher in both Colorado and Missouri. And this is how the whole thing started anyway. It started, in China and then other parts of the world and then Kansas. So we're expecting more and more of these variants. There are other variants out there also based out of South Africa and based out of Brazil. And the reason that we care about them so much is we know the most about the B117, which is the UK variant. And we know that it is more easily transmissible, meaning that it spreads like wildfire more than our wild type virus does. And it carries with it an increased risk of mortality of approximately 64% more lethal than the prior variant. Now, this becomes a non-issue if it doesn't impact McPherson. We don't know if it's going to or not. But it would be unwise to put on blinders and not pay attention to it. Other variants are out of Brazil and out of South Africa. We're seeing in Brazil, they are having a terrible time. Their health system is really suffering, and my heart goes out to them. So looking at that, we do have some ways of combating that. They have looked at what about the vaccines? How well do they work against these variants? Initially, the initial thought was, well, they ought to work really well. And they do work some as we're getting more and more data, but we're finding that they are somewhat less effective against the new variants than they were against the wild type, that the original variety that they did their testing on. However, they still work. And what they see as they're doing testing is that the vaccines do decrease the incidence of illness, but not to the degree that they did against the wild type. But they do still shine nicely in preventing severe disease, decreasing hospitalization, and decreasing deaths due to COVID. So that's the two competing forces that are out there today. We're trying to get as many vaccines into people as possible because that is one of our best defenses against these viruses. So fortunately, we are seeing a great big improvement in the amount of vaccine, big improvement in the amount of vaccine that is available in McPherson County and in the US. Even in the last couple of weeks, we're seeing a big improvement in accessibility, and that not only do we have it at doctors' offices and at the health department, but now we're seeing it also in pharmacies as well. So there are a significantly increased number of ways that people can access the vaccine. And that's a pretty fantastic thing. I also am learning that McPherson County also has decided to increase the number of people that can gather in a given area. They enacted that on April 5th, increasing our person gathering limit from 45 to 100. And I think it certainly makes sense for us to tailor our precautions to the activity and the threat. My thought is that this transition where we're transitioning from a method of severely limiting gatherings and wearing masks, that's one method of protection. Now we're transitioning to protection primarily through the vaccine. This transition of protection mode, this is the time where we could run into trouble. If the variants were to become more prominent during this time, if there's going to be a problem, it's probably going to be during this transition. I would urge caution as we're moving forward and moving into loosening restrictions. I would urge giving some time between each step to see how this plays out. Since the county just enacted a loosening of restrictions when it comes to the person gathering limit, my recommendation would be to not lift the mask mandate at this point. And one of the things that I think is going to make good common sense is once people have vaccinated to the degree that they choose to be, I think that seems a reasonable point at which to relieve the mask mandate. So how do we know that? One indicator is I've been following kansasvaccine.gov, which is, of course, anybody can access that. That tells us how many people in Kansas have been vaccinated per 1,000, and it breaks it down by county. In McPherson County, as of this morning, 363 people per 1,000 population have been vaccinated. And I've been watching that number go up and up and up. There's going to come a point where that levels off, which is going to be our indicator that people who have chosen to get it have gotten it. You know, that's gonna slow down. And at that point, just from a common sense standpoint, I don't see any point in a mask mandate beyond that. However, I don't think we're there. We only just went into phase 5 of the vaccine distribution plan just in late March, March 29th. And that opens it up to where anybody over age 18 can get the vaccine. That's a tremendous number of people in McPherson County relative to the vaccination opportunities. I feel that we are nowhere near saturating that market. People who are now able to get that vaccine, we are still seeing a big demand for it. We're not seeing our demand for vaccine tapering off yet. I think it's too soon to relieve the mask mandate. I don't want any of us to be held hostage, and I'm along those lines too. I don't have a number of people have asked me at what percentage of vaccination can we stop wearing these masks? We don't know that. That data is not available to us. We would need that information from experience with previous pandemics. We don't have that. So that information's coming. So that's the most common sense way that I can think of would be to monitor how our vaccine distribution is going. And once we see it really tapering off and people have gotten it to the degree that they want to, that seems the point for action for me. I haven't talked to you guys in a long time. Do you have any questions for me? Is there anything that you needed to know or other issues?
I'll make a comment. I've been following the CDC, and from stuff they put out that the vaccine is 85% effective against the South African. And I believe it's a very similar number. I can't remember it this morning on the UK vaccine. So we have really good protection of everybody that's getting the vaccine, even from the variances that we know. I have not seen anything on Brazil, so maybe you know.
The Brazilian, it is still responding to the mRNA vaccines, which is going to be the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. It's not as effective against the Brazilian variant as it is against the wild type. However, the key thing is what we really want these vaccines to do is to decrease severe infections that are going to increase our hospitalizations and increase death. What we're finding out is that as these variants are seeing decreased efficacy, that means that, yeah, more people, you run the risk of, even though you got the vaccine, you might get the illness. However, the illness you're going to get is not going to be the one that's severe enough to put you in the hospital and kill you. We would really like to see as little even infections as possible, because I think we all now probably know people who have had the virus and are still not over it. I mean, still not back to normal. There are long-term consequences for some people.
Yeah.
Is the clinic at a point where it's a walk-in, or do you still have to make reservations? What's the procedure now?
We have to make reservations.
Mhm.
These virus vaccines are logistically difficult to give in that they're not single dose vials.
Mhm.
And so this is more than you care about, but to answer your question, they come, like the Moderna comes in a 10-dose vial. Once you breach that vial, so you've got somebody that walks in and wants the vaccine, once you breach that vial, you need to give 10 doses. Or you waste the rest.
Okay,
So that's why it has to be by appointment, and it's going to be that way at the pharmacy as well. It's going to be
Okay.
by appointment. So at one of these days down the road, the vaccine manufacturers are going to start producing single dose vials. However, that's not in sight. That's not going to be for a long time.
okay, thank you.
Okay. And Sheila, did you say we're at about 35% vaccinated right now for the county?
Yeah, 36.
And that does not include the 18-year-olds?
That's, it's available to 18 and up, however, with a caveat. I'm sorry, 16 and up is.
Oh,
it's
16
the-
and up,
Yeah,
okay.
it's 16 and up. However, the only vaccine that is okay for the 16 and 17-year-olds is the Pfizer vaccine. So it's not every vaccine.
Okay.
And now the Pfizer vaccine is more accessible in the county, primarily through the pharmacies.
But
Okay.
that 36% does not include the residents of McPherson that go someplace else to get the shot.
Actually, it does, I believe.
Oh, okay.
My
All right, okay.
understanding is that it's, that when we enter this into WebIZ and into the CDC vaccine finder
Mhm.
tracking system, then you enter the patient's home address. And
Okay.
So that's how it's tracked.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
For the-
residents.
For the 3,000 some that have had COVID, they have developed antibodies,
They-
correct?
they
And
do have
and what
antibodies
is,
against the wild strain.
what is the status from that standpoint? Because that would add another 3,000 people potentially.
So, yeah, your question is about the people who have already had COVID. Yes, they have developed antibodies to the particular strain of COVID that they were exposed to. They don't have necessarily protective antibodies against any other strain. So the variants that are coming through certainly could create a second wave and could reinfect those people. When it comes to vaccinating people that have had the COVID previously, as long as we're not seeing a high prevalence of variants in the community, some people are choosing to lean on their own immunity, and you can do that. And they think that stays for about 6 months. Now, does that mean that you cannot get vaccinated? No, it doesn't. So a person that has had the infection can actually get the vaccine as soon as they're out of the isolation period.
Oh, really?
So they can. So they just need to be well. Do they have to? Not at this point. However, it definitely would be advisable for people that have had COVID infection to get the vaccine to protect themselves against these variants that are going to make their way into our community.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my point in asking that is that we're probably closer to 50% when we count the people with antibodies and vaccines. So I appreciate all your information this morning.
Yeah, there is going to be some overlap between those
Yeah.
groups, so it's not additive because some of the
Right,
people with
right.
the,
And I
who
was,
had the
I
COVID also
wasn't
had the
taking the
vaccine.
whole part.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions?
No,
I think so.
not at this time. Thank you.
gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like the city attorney to read the ordinance.
Read the ordinance, okay. The ordinance that is attached to board docs is number 3354 is neutral on the merits. I want to emphasize that. It simply gives the commission a trigger to be able to turn it on and off, but it does not change the status quo. So in other words, if you adopt 3354, we still have a mask mandate. It would take a second motion to suspend it. I would be adding, when I wrote this, a new section 30-5 for the effectiveness of the current mask ordinance. Section 30-4 of the code, which is the mask ordinance, shall be effective and enforceable at midnight following passage of a simple motion by the governing body and posting of such motion on the city's website, and shall remain enforceable until suspended by a simple motion of the governing body, which shall also be posted on the city's website. The intent of this section 5 is to permit the governing body to quickly and efficiently implement the mask ordinance in section 4 or suspend it in similar fashion as the circumstances warrant, all within the discretion of the governing body. Section 4 is in effect and enforceable at the time of the passage of this ordinance. The rest of it's the lawyer mumbo jumbo.
Okay, yeah, barring a lawyer mumbo jumbo, all this is replacing the current ordinance with a trigger.
It
is
adds-
not-
it
It's not
adds.
changing anything at this point, so I would like to move to adopt ordinance 3354, an ordinance of the city of McPherson, Kansas, adding chapter 30, article 1, section 5 of the code of city of McPherson, Kansas, regarding when any mask requirement is effective or not, and authorize the mayor to sign the document. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. The flexibility of this ordinance has passed. Now, the question is whether we suspend or do not suspend. I will tell you, I've talked to several businesses, including a nice discussion with Walmart management, and they have told me that they would not make any changes to what they do if we change this. And that was the intention of the Legislative Council, to allow businesses to decide on their own. So they would still make the same requirements if we suspend ours that they do right now. Several other businesses have said the same thing. Smaller businesses that have struggled through this pandemic are tired of fighting it. And overwhelmingly say they want to make the change. What we just passed, if we have one of these variants happen, we have the ability to simply put it back in place and do it. I think we have an obligation to not carry this too far. We have been pretty low all along. And as I said last week, this is very difficult to enforce. And we are not going to be able to enforce as we go forward with all the vaccinations, with all of the cases that are happening, that it is next to impossible to enforce. I think it's a misuse of the police department to try to enforce this regulation. We're far enough along. Will we ever be perfect? Do we ever get anything? We're talking about a fourth wave in Europe. I have yet to see what I would call a second wave in McPherson, Kansas, leave alone a second wave in Kansas itself. We have done well. We're extremely low. I would like to turn this back to the citizens and back to the local businesses. I'm not sure how, when a number of our industries have got vaccination. I don't know if that shows up in the state figure or not, but we had long before, and I've been to Pfizer several times and watched the process. And we'll be rolling out 10 million cases next week, 10 million doses a week next week. Unfortunately, those go to Grand Prairie, Wisconsin, to the distribution center, and then depending on what the CDC says, that's where they go. So just because we have it sitting on our doorstep doesn't automatically mean we get everything that we want. But an additional 10 million a week is there. I've watched the process. It's a very careful process. And I am glad that we were able to revamp our local plant to be able to handle this. And it's not the easiest thing in the world. We get the concentration from Michigan, and then we have to break that big bulk down into these small vials that are multiple doses. And it all has to be kept in the right temperature. And then it has to be shipped in the right temperature. So it's an intricate process, but I've said all along, we have obviously the health of the community to be concerned about. We have the economic vitality of the community to be concerned about. We have community unity to be concerned about. I think we are at a point where we could go ahead and do this. The beauty of what we've just passed is that if we have a wave, we can instantaneously put this back in, and then we're going to have a problem. Walmart will have a problem enforcing. They do have a problem when the state is down. Churches on Easter, the part was already in place for 100 gathering, at the state level, whether we'd said anything at the county level or not, we hadn't said no. So, you know, I know of at least two churches that had more attendance live this year than they had in 2019. And if you add the parts that they had online, which weren't nearly what they had in person, they're way over their numbers. Any organization, if we suspend this, has a right to demand a mask. Walmart will not change whether what we do. They will still have a strong recommendation for people to wear them in the store. All of their workers have to wear a mask. That will not change. I did not get the Dillons, but I'm thinking that they're probably, because they operate more on a national policy with Kroger, will do a similar thing. Smaller businesses will be able to make the decision what they want to do. I think it's time to turn this back to the people. Those that really concerned about mask and distancing will do it. The few that don't do this will do what they've been doing all along. I don't believe that the sheriff ever arrested anybody for not wearing a mask. I can guarantee you that we didn't do it. And even though all of the stuff about the barber shop and presentation in the legislature, I can guarantee you, and the chief can back me up on this, when the warrant was issued, I told him put it in his pocket. And we finally worked to the point where it was taken over by the county. We never delivered it. It was always in the pocket. We do not want to do this. I think we're better off to move forward with this. If we have a problem, if we get the UK virus, the Brazilian virus, whatever else that creates a problem for us, I think we can put this right back in place. And that's why last week asked the city attorney to put a trigger in. For right now, we do not want the police department to be in the middle of this. So that's my thought. Somebody else.
Well,
Okay,
as
go
much
ahead.
as I respect this man to my left, I've got to disagree with him. I just think, I always look at the medical side of it. That's the side I look at. I know there's a lot of public opinion out there to get rid of it and this type of thing, but I tell you, just for our own safety factor, I think we need to wait until that this levels out. The shots level out. We get it to where the people that want them have got them, and there's not much of need for it anymore because nobody's coming in. I just think we need to wait until that's done. And I don't think it's that far off. I think it's probably pretty close. But I just think it's a little bit premature yet to jump in and do away with the mask mandate.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, I was interested in looking at what John Doe Public is doing. Made several trips to Walmart, not to buy anything, just to walk through and see what was going on. Dillon's the same way. Graber's Ace Hardware the same way. I was kind of disappointed, honestly. There's only, I counted less than 50% of the people at Walmart yesterday afternoon at 4 o'clock that had masks on. Dillon's yesterday at 1:30, 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon was about the same way. And mom was wearing one, but dad didn't have one on, and so on. It just, I don't know. If we're going to keep it in place, why, that's fine. And I understand that Walmart and Dillon's are going to keep theirs in place, and that's fine. But there's not I don't see any kind of body standing at the door asking if they had their mask on, or do you have a mask, or do you plan on, what are you going to do? So I have to agree with Gary. I think we need to wait. We need to wait 2 weeks And if things look like in 2 weeks like they are today, I'm ready to roll.
Okay. Anything else? I'm going ahead and move to suspend the ordinance 3342. Is there a second? Let the record show that the motion failed for lack of a second. And I will leave it up to the commissioners when they're going to bring this up again. I think it's a mistake. It hurts public unity. It puts the police department in a bad position. And if we get a call, I want to remind you that not only is there a $10 fine, but if their business wants to make a big enough issue about it, it's trespassing. Trespassing carries a much higher fine. And we do not want to have to be doing that to people, but we will do what we have to do till the commissioners bring it up again. Moving on to the administrative report, is Nick Gregory on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, go ahead and move through. The first item is procedures for revised assessments in Barnstormer Premier Development, and Janetta is going to cover that point.
Good morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me? Is that working?
Maybe you're not turned off.
Haven't been turned on all day, huh? Is this working?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Okay. Well, no worries. I'll talk loud enough.
there you go.
I think it was the fall retreat. Before I get into the public content, I just want to make sure everybody is up to speed as to what is in front of you this morning. I presented to you at that point in time during my reconciliation of Geo Bond 140, which was issued in 2019, and it was issued on the project that you have in front of you. This was the Barnstormers Premier Development. I discovered that there was some bond proceeds left over in the tune of about 200,000. So this alerted me that I need to dig a little bit deeper into the numbers. And so in doing so, I found several errors in the calculation of the cost. And so I presented that to you with the assistance from our financial advisor and bond counsel, and with Jeff and his department. We went through months and months of basically starting from scratch, from the developer share to the calculation of all the costs, to the calculations of the bond cost. And so I'm here today to present to you those final costs and to start the proceedings of the revised special assessments. And so what you have in front of you today, and in this large set of documents, is the beginning of that process. And so now I'll read that public. Is there any questions on any of that, or what we're talking about as far as the projects?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. So now that the revised Barnstormers and Premier Development project costs and developer contributions have been corrected, the next step is to begin the process to reassess the special assessments to the property owners. The revised special assessment will be spread over the next 18 years. Originally, that was 20 years. So just for the commissioner's sake, those 2 years of overpayment by those property owners, that error has been, or the overpayment has been taken into account over these next 18 years. Okay. Staff has worked closely with the financial advisor and bond counsel to ensure these revised assessments are broken down for individual lots in a manner that accurately portrays the intent at the beginning of the project. The division of the costs is represented in the statement of final costs and the assessment roll certification attached to this document. Attached are the following exhibits. Exhibit A, which is a statement of final cost, and those will be assessed to all the property owners. Exhibit B is assessment of roll certification. Exhibit C is the notice of public hearing. And Exhibit D is the form of notice of hearing and statement of cost proposal to be assessed. Commission should approve the exhibits which show the revised final cost of all the projects, which include the divided cost project share by Barnstormers and Premier, and the individual assessments to be spread for the individual lots. Following approval of the exhibits, the city commission needs to set a public hearing for April 26, 2021 at 9 o'clock for the purpose of hearing any and all written or oral objections to the respective assessments set forth. In addition to the public hearing, the commission shall formally cause staff to mail form of notice of hearing and statement of cost proposed to be assessed, which is in Exhibit D, to each and all owners of the property affected by the assessments at their last known post office address on the same date for the publication and notice of hearing, which is in Exhibit C, and to file each of said documents of record in the office of the city clerk and make available for public inspection. And as you know, we contacted the local title search company, did title searches on all the properties since the original assessments were assessed back in 2019. So that has all been documented and calculated, and we are working feverishly to get those letters out on Wednesday, the 14th. So are there any questions on any of the documents or anything that I have presented to you today?
Anyone want to see anything on for exhibits? Or are you fine?
I'm good.
Okay.
Basically, I will just say that the total assessed is a little over 1.9
Mhm.
million that will be assessed to all of those property owners over the next 18 years. And what this is in front of you now is basically all the information prior to the interest rate. So at the public hearing, then those property owners, after they receive the letters, they actually can come in and prepay. They have the ability to come in and prepay before these costs get rolled over to the county clerk and put on the tax roll, which will then include the interest rate that we have calculated for the revised special assessments.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything from the city attorney?
No.
Okay. Already then, we have 5 different motions, and I'll read them one at a time. I'd like to move to approve exhibits A through D, which represent statement, final cost, assessment, roll certification, notice of public hearing, and form of notice of hearing and statement of cost proposed to be assessed for various internal improvements for Barnstormers and Premier project.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to move to establish April 26, 2021 at 9 o'clock as a public hearing for the purpose of hearing any and all written or oral objections to the respective assessments set forth in exhibits A through D.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like to move to cause the city, to cause the McPherson City Clerk to publish the notice of public hearing, Exhibit C, in the official city newspaper not less than 10 days prior to such public meeting date.
I second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion to cause staff to mail the form of notice of hearing and statement of cost proposed to be assessed, Exhibit D, to each and all owners of property affected by such assessments at their last known post office address or the same date as the publication of notice of public hearing, Exhibit C.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I'll move to cause staff to file each of said documents of record in the office of the city clerk and make the same available for public inspection.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to just make one last comment, and that's to thank Jeff, Richard, bond counsel, financial advisor, everybody that's been involved in this. This has been a long, tedious process and I will say a very, very, very complex project.
Yeah.
So thanks to everyone for all that.
Thank you.
Thanks for a great team
Thank you.
effort from everybody. Okay, Nick, do you want to take the next item?
Yep, I sure would be glad to. The All Schools Day celebration is going to occur on May 14th of 2021. The All Schools Day Committee has requested that the city of McPherson purchase the fireworks in order for them to be exempt from sales tax and provide a little bit bigger show. We did the same thing back in 2019. They asked us to do this and they asked us again in 20, but those were obviously canceled in 20. And so back in 19, the only challenge we had is we didn't get compensated right away. It actually took it into the next year. So this year, the city's asked that the committee go ahead and reimburse the funds to the city so we can pay the vendor in advance. But those funds, if approved today, would come through the CVB fund. It would be basically in and an out. And hopefully we're able to get a nice show in, and the fireworks are an important part of All Schools Day. And we hope that if approved today, they'd continue to have those.
I move that we approve the purchase of a fireworks show for All Schools Day from Rainbow Fireworks following receipt of payment from All Schools Day Committee for an amount not to exceed $3,000.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next item I got is just an update to let you know that, and remind the commission that we do have our annual spring retreat on April 14th, 2021, and that'll actually be right there in the room where you guys are sitting. We'll start at 8:30 and we'll go, if you click on that retreat agenda, you can see we're going well into the afternoon. There is some flexibility built in there. We may have to jump around a little bit on some of the items, but you can see that there's a number of items covered as it relates to that if you open that attachment. There's no action necessary, just an update and reminder to let you know that on Wednesday, April 14th, we have our spring retreat.
Okay, you want to cover the wages?
Yep. There are a number of regular step increases as well as covering the items that were brought before you earlier to include the seasonal employees being brought back on. The first is Melton Collins, who is Health Sanitation Code Enforcement Sanitation Officer, and we'd like to move him from 2576 to 2628, effective April 19th, following successful evaluation. Hayes Schmidt, Turkey Creek Golf Course, seasonal clubhouse, bringing him back going from $10 per hour to $10.50 per hour. That would also come back on April 19th. Selby Richardson, Turkey Creek Golf Course, seasonal clubhouse, starting at $9.50 per hour, effective May 17th, 2021. And Caitlin Guffey, Park Department seasonal, starting at $9.50 per hour, and that would be effective on April 19th as well.
Nick, did you mention Milton?
Yes.
I did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did I cut out?
No, you're all right.
I would make the motion to approve the wages.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead with the bond.
Okay, bonds wise, we have just one bond for your consideration. That's Charlie's Electric Company out of Inman, and they are requesting a $5,000 electrical bond.
Move we approve the bond.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to move to recess city commission meeting, go to study session.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Session for the city commission. I don't believe we have anything to bring forward, but I would like to ask the city attorney for an interpretation.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to the choice ordinance and the state approving 100 people. And my question is, even in a store, if you're moving, you're not next to somebody for a given period of time. So you could technically argue you're 6 feet, except at the cash register. And they will have, they do have their pieces. So what I'm asking is, with the state 100 people, if you have 100 people in a store and they're moving, is there a reason for a complaint?
There is absolutely no way I can or will answer a question like that.
Okay.
Or
And I was,
counters at the
I
door,
was
so-
expecting you to say that. And once again, that's why if you think about this, it's next to impossible with the state 100 people for us to enforce something. And you're going to ask a policeman to make that decision that a city attorney won't even want to address.
No,
And
the
I
city
agree with
attorney
him.
will not give a public legal opinion on the enforcement of the law for law enforcement in this form. If the police wants to talk to me, I'd be glad to consult with them.
Okay, please talk to him. We'll go through
We know that
the process.
Dillon's doesn't do that, to my knowledge, but Walmart has a counter at the door.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. I don't know if they're gonna up that from
They're
60 to
supposed, they
100.
ask people, they are not going to arm wrestle somebody if you want to not abide.
No,
Then lies the problem. And then you have the circles on the floor for checkout.
Mhm.
So it's an impossibility. My own personal opinion is that, and I would say this, and I've said it before, for any ordinance that you can't enforce, you shouldn't have the ordinance. That's my thing. I'd like to move to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.